Hello, hello, mic check. Can you hear me?
We got you, man. How's things?
Perfect, man. Happy to be here again. Whenever we are on spaces, it's Friday, weekend ahead, some time to touch some grass. And it's actually a pretty special weekend this time, some big things happening in around 8 hours. And yeah, really looking forward to that.
Oh, whatever could you mean? What big things are happening in about 8 hours? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually like if you think about it, it's probably the most anticipated event in crypto life. We had the spot ETF everyone was waiting for. Now we got the halving, and I think we are away like 50 blocks. And yeah, that's so crazy because throughout the year you've always checked like how many blocks until the halving, and now we are just 50 blocks away, and that's insane, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Like it's crazy too because I was looking at inscription numbers just because it was a year ago in February, I think it was, that inscriptions were released on Bitcoin. And then I was able to inscribe a few around 150,000 mark. And by the time I found out about it anyway, I got a couple sub 500,000s. And now I inscribed four tiny little NFTs last night just for shits and giggles. And it was like we're in the 70 million. So 70 million plus inscriptions have been created just in the last little over a year. It's crazy. It's
Yeah, feels like
insane how much volume.
feels like people are anticipating another airdrop for ordinal holders, maybe. Um, yeah, but as you said, it kind of feels like New Year's Eve. There are always everywhere like countdowns for the halving, and it's crazy. Definitely stay. It's actually for me, it's in the middle of the night, but I have to witness it live. So yeah, definitely stay awake and then see what's. Nothing is actually going to happen, but the impact over the next couple of months. Bitcoin supply production is halving, and yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. The We have 51 blocks as of right now before the halving. Price action's kind of strange, but I think Michael Saylor, for those of you guys who are aware, and incidentally, if any guys want to throw up a hand and chat, feel free. We'll toss you the microphone. We're just jumping into this stuff. But yeah, like Michael Saylor put it this way, he's like, imagine that someone agreed to buy half of all Bitcoin from now until the end of time, right? That's really
Yeah.
what's happening. So the supply is being cut in half, and that means that the miners are going to have to find ways to increase value to make more money. Um, and that these all of these ordinal transactions have really boosted mining income. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what miners do. Like, are they going to sell some Bitcoin? Are they not going to sell some Bitcoin to raise funds? Because again, the block reward is going to be cut in half, right? So if you're a miner and you earn a block, Antpool just got a block. So we are exactly 50 blocks from the halving. So like Antpool just made what's 6.25 times, I don't know, whatever Bitcoin is at, 65,000. So they just made that much money. And in 50 blocks, they're going to get half that every time they process a block. So it's going to be real interesting to see how it goes for the miners, whether they sell, whether they dump some supply, whether they've planned for it. But ultimately, I think that's what's going to change or what's going to govern the price curve, at least immediately after. And then who knows? We'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how the big players behave differently. I feel like it's like either you are against Bitcoin or you are like you're pro. Where I just read a tweet from who was it, JP Morgan, I think, and they said that smart contracts do have value, but crypto as a currency are public decentralized Ponzi schemes. And yeah, do we agree?
I mean, honestly, it's funny, right? You guys know I met with a music company on Wednesday. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But one of the things that they were having trouble understanding was the way the market works, like the way that the NFT market works, because of all the scams and rugs and everything and the irresponsibility. when I was explaining to them what I wanted to do, they were basically looking at me like I was crazy, like I had four heads, right? And so I understand why traditional finance shits on the crypto market, right? And I'm going to separate crypto from Bitcoin because I think they're two different things. But I can understand why they do because there's so much fraud still in the marketplace, right? Like, so you can understand why someone who is in the traditional space where that happens, but it's much less, why they would be somewhat skeptical. But the flip side of that is they're also fearful, right? Like if Bitcoin works and Ethereum works and Solana works and everything works, we don't need banks. And JP Morgan is in the business of banking, right? Especially consumer banking, investment banking. Their business takes a tremendous hit if crypto is successful. 49 blocks to go. Just got another block go through. So I mean, they have a vested interest to talk their book. They have a vested interest to keep people out of crypto. They have a vested interest to shit on it so that they can maintain their foothold on the marketplace.
Yeah,
Really
totally.
having the wherewithal to stop it, it's not unusual to see them, or I don't think it's unexpected to see them, saying what they're saying.
Yeah, but it feels like, sooner or later, everyone who wants to play a role in the whole financial world will participate. I think there was that one ETF company who kind of like didn't want to have a Bitcoin ETF. I think it was Van Eck, and yeah, they just kept bad mouthing crypto and said like, hey, it's just like gambling and stuff like that. And in the end, I feel like 2025 there won't be too many banks and like big players who do not have crypto.
Oh, for sure. Excuse me. I
Yeah,
mean, it has to change, right? Because I mean, the majority of the world is unbanked. And so at the end of the day, if someone in a third world country somewhere that has a cell phone and not much else, if they want to maintain some form of wealth that they use when they go into a populated area to transact, I mean, that's too convenient for them not to use it, right? And in terms of just what's better money, like what is easier to use, obviously Bitcoin, crypto, these are such easy platforms to use to transfer wealth across country lines. My wife is Canadian, right? I was born in the US, she was born in Canada. And for a lot of years we were married and cross border. And so I've had a lot of experience going back and forth across the US Canada border. You would think would be very easy to cross. But every time you go through there, you have to basically account for everything that you're carrying. And if you're carrying anything, like I've actually carried gold and silver across the border, and every time I've done that, I wondered, is it going to get confiscated this time? You know, I've seen people at airports who were traveling with a lot of cash. Like there was someone who was on the jetway with us waiting to board the plane, and they had just a wad of cash, right? And I saw the police and customs agents come and like take them off the jetway and take their cash from them, right? So like when you think about the utility of something like crypto, where if I want to sell everything I own in the US and I want to move to, I don't know, pick, anywhere in the world, as long as I memorize my mnemonic, they can take my phone, they can take anything. But as soon as I get across border and I get set up on another phone and I put those 12 words in or 24 words in, all my shit comes back. So it's one of those things where it's just too convenient. It's too easy for someone to understand the differences between the traditional financial system. Like conceptually, it's so much easier for you to protect your wealth. And, like we just had April 15th passed here in the US, which is, tax deadline day. And most people, when they do their taxes, if they're making any form of money at all, if you do the math, you end up working like 4 or 5 months of the year for free by the time you pay your taxes out of what you earn. And people just fed up with that stuff. So like the whole idea of this going away is never going to happen. And JP Morgan and all the rest of them can shit on it. But at the end of the day, there's other large, big brands, big names, big banks, big investment firms who are embracing it. And so they can fight that out, right? I mean, with $60-70 billion inflows into the first 10 ETFs, with Hong Kong approving Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, with them already existing in Canada, with the futures market already having. I mean, it's not going away. I mean, you could just look at the market caps, 1.4 trillion in Bitcoin, I think it is, or 1.3 trillion. I mean, this market is not going away. So, I mean, they can bitch and moan all they want, but what can they do at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, man, that's true. I mean, even though I wonder what you do, like I imagine you being at the border, with your trunk full of gold bars. Like, why do you take gold and silver when you travel?
Yeah, well, I was traveling because initially I was going to move up there, and then I just when I was exposed to the lifestyle and realized the level of socialism there, I was like, well, this is not going to work for me. And so I took across border a bunch of precious metals, but I ended up bringing them all back. So didn't didn't get confiscated in either direction, but it was a lot of explaining to do.
Oh, that's funny because I always feel like, Americans making fun of Canadians and prefer living in America, but yeah, I think Canada is a great country too. Yeah, but yeah, what I see is there are tons of USDT being printed right now, so people are definitely preparing for the halving. I feel like there are two big narratives about what's going to happen after the halving. One is like there's going to be a big altcoin season, and the other one is basically we are going to have a sideways movement for a couple of months, and then yeah, the bull run is going to start. In the end, nobody knows, but a lot of people claim to know. But in the end, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, me too, man. I think you're right. We're definitely gonna see like a brand new shitcoin season. Runes is gonna bring that on. And it's like you said earlier, you mentioned the word gambling and how, the big banks say, oh, well, it's just gambling. People are just wasting money, wasting time, or what have you. The interesting thing about the whole runes drop, and again, for those of you guys who have been following this along, at block 840,000, we have the next halving, and the Bitcoin block reward drops to 3.125 Bitcoin per block one. And then Runes is released. So Runes is basically shitcoins that run on top of Bitcoin. And I think it was guest user 17 said in Discord that um, they had a server set up and had already etched. I think the word is etched some runes. So I was looking at that. There's already a long list of people who are etching runes now, and there are going to be some big names, obviously, who are going to promote that technology. But the interesting thing about it is it's honest, as opposed to some of the crypto meme coins and shit coins where people are trying to pump and dump and pump and dump and basically screw people over. At least the people who are bringing runes to the forefront are saying, hey, listen, right now crypto is a number go up technology, and we're just getting on top of that bandwagon, and we understand the market is primarily for entertainment and gambling, and you could lose everything. So the fact that there's been an upswell in interest in honesty, I think is a good thing. But the other thing too is the runes that run on top of Bitcoin do bear a cost. So if you're going to create them, you have to pay. And that's going to create a little bit of a better incentive than you have on something like Solana where it's free. Like you can create whatever token you want as many times as you want. When you bear a cost, you sort of weed out more of the trash, and so there'll be tons of trash on Bitcoin, but it'll be higher quality trash, I guess you could say. And then there'll be, quite a few projects that do really well with big name recognition and have some plan for what it is they're going to do. So I think you're right, man. We'll see. But I'm curious. My curiosity is not so much around price action. Typically, price action is sideways after the halving, and then it's like 3 or 4 months later where everything tends to moon. And I think that has to do with the fact that the miners have to sort their shit out, because if you're a miner and you're running on small margins and your income gets cut in half, you've got to sell Bitcoin to survive while you figure it out, right? But I'm more concerned about what happens to standard crypto, like what happens to shitcoins on other chains. That's going to be an interesting thing. What do you think about that?
Yes, it's actually a good question. What I just wanted to mention to Runes is before I answer your question, I saw that Magic Eden is actually launching some kind of what was it? Some kind of Runes platform. I don't know what it is, and I saw that Leonidas actually is receiving donations to get Runestone's low rune number, and he already got like over 2.5 Bitcoin, which is crazy. So he actually said that people will get nothing in return, and I actually read a pretty interesting thread about that from some guy called Tyler, I think, and he said that the floor has fallen nearly 20% now to I think it was zero point zero 0.06 in like 3 hours since he posted that wallet address and asked for donations. And he said that he feels like there are so many red flags about Runes, like he never set up a Twitter for the project and still runs everything through his own, and that he's always like talking about the floor price. And I think we've already mentioned that psychology-wise, he's acting a lot like these meme coins. That he's trying to hype everything up and just talks about, hey, I donated or I actually gave away like this in iPhones and MacBooks, and he basically dropped that for free. And yeah, it's crazy. I'm not sure where that goes.
Yeah, I haven't seen much about that, but I think the interesting thing for me about the whole runes thing is because, like Bitcoin versus say something like the Bitcoin population versus like the Solana population or the ETH population is that there's a tremendous amount of people who are only Bitcoin and it should only be a payments layer and it should only be value preservation, only, right? And then over the last year or 14 months, we've seen that shift with ordinals and NFTs and BRC20 tokens. You've seen people start to open up to the fact that, okay, well, you can do more with Bitcoin. And so then there's this sort of, division in Bitcoiners where it's like, well, no, Bitcoin shouldn't do any of that stuff versus the people who think it should do that stuff, right? And Leonidas has been interesting in that he's very much in the camp of, hey, we're going to shill just like we would on a standard, crypto platform or chain like you'd see anywhere else. And then at the same time, he's also been honest and said, listen, I'm not guaranteeing anything. So I think the difference is just the honesty. So if you pop into the spaces that he's done and just kind of hang out there are a lot of people who show gratitude, like a lot of gratitude for what's being done there, and they believe in the project I think primarily from the standpoint of just sheer honesty. No promises, no projects, no, bogus utilities, no pie in the sky, no overpromise, underdeliver stuff. It's just like, hey, we're going to participate in this and we're going to have some fun with it. And if you want to participate, great. If not, that's fine too. And then the flip side of that too is like if he's gotten a couple Bitcoin, good for him, because they raised a bunch of money and they dropped what like 112,000 rune stones or something to holders of multiple NFTs or multiple ordinals, and that created millions upon millions of dollars of value for these holders. And they didn't ask for anything. They didn't get anything for that, right? They did all that work. They did all that coding. They organized everything with the miners to get the runestones all out in the blocks. I mean, that's a ton of work. So if he can raise some money, hopefully he pays himself a little bit, right? Like these guys are good developers. They seem like quality people. I mean, it's hard to say that because again, they're anonymous. But at the end of the day, the honesty is there. And that's really the only thing that I see different in the two markets. But that's just kind of my 2 cents. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree on what you said, but we've always been talking about sustainability, and Leonidas has been he relied on like the halving because he always mentioned like when the halving comes, runes is going to drop, and but think of it like in a year from now, where's runes going to be, and that's the question. Does he have like a plan? There's no roadmap as far as I know, so that's the question. Is it going to be a big hype now around the halving? Then he's going to drop his meme coins. I think he wants to like drop 3 coins, if I'm right. And yeah, is he going to be able to sustain the hype and or will people leave after that and be like, okay, I got some free shit now, and yeah, what else is going to happen then? That's the big question, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's, I think it's pretty obvious that that's probably what's going to happen. It's like Charlie Munger says, like show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes, right? So if you incentivize people to do a certain thing and you reward them for doing that thing, chances are you're going to get that thing, right? And so basically with runes, there was a drop and then there was an incentive. Hey, there was a promise, we're going to give you more on top of what you already got if you just hold on to what you have, right? And so it wouldn't be surprising for me to say, or for me to see them completely fall to the floor after the halving and after the drops are received, because I'm sure at least half these people are holding on to these things with the plan to cash out at some point, right? And that's normal because that's what they've incentivized. So again, show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes. The incentive is to hold right now. At some point, the reason the hype cycle always fails is because you run out of promises to make and promises to keep. Right? There's only so many times you can say the same thing or promise the same thing before people are just like, yeah, we've kind of seen that before. Nobody really cares anymore. So yeah, I think you're right. I think prices probably come down eventually, maybe even abandoned completely. But again, they were honest enough to say, hey, you might lose everything. This project, is not meant to make people rich. It's designed for entertainment. So I think if you go in informed like that, rather than, like in some of the other chains where people are promising this and that and the other thing, then it's fine. Go have fun with it. Hold your runes, get your drops, do your conversions, have fun with it, right? That's what it's all about right now. And don't worry too much about the rest of it because at the end of the day, like we don't really need meme coins for anything. We have Bitcoin for value. We've got ETH for the world's computer. We've got Solana for tons of business cases and art cases and chain of custody cases. Like there's all these different areas of the world that different chains can specialize in, and none of them need meme coins for anything. So at the end of the day, that's why I'm not really interested because I don't want to gamble. But if someone's going to give me something for free and, just because I've used their technology, then why wouldn't I hang out and take advantage of that airdrop and enjoy it and have a little fun with it and smile, and, maybe take my girl out for a nice dinner because I sold something for a chunk of change, right? That's what I say. Just have fun with it. Just know what you're doing, right?
When you talked about like projects running out of promises, what I've seen lately is I think two or three NFT projects who probably ran out of promises and who tried to get some kind of new utility, if you can call it like that, and they tried to jump on the whole pre-sale train. They created coins and they were like, hey, we got that NFT project. And almost every NFT project got some kind of coin that you can get for staking. And I saw these projects go ahead and announce that they will have some kind of pre-sale and they can like send Solana to that address. And basically what all these shit coins do. And I'm a little worried about that, about that development of what people try to do to get some hype and to get some attention, like trying to just release a coin. And people have seen, hey, these pre-sales seem to work because people think they can make quick money, and then just say like, hey, let's have our own coin, let's have our own pre-sale, and let people like send some soul and sell that as a new utility of our NFT project. And that's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, again, like it all comes down to motivation, right? And when you have, people shit on Bitcoin because it's slow and expensive, right? And then people will praise something like Solana or Polygon because it's cheap and fast. But the truth is, like, you don't get spam and you don't get as much junk when you have to actually bear a cost. Twitter was talking about this, or Elon was talking about this with X. Michael Saylor is talking about this with X. Like, imagine, like, they just released this program that went through and wiped out all these bots, right? And so all these botted followers that people have suddenly disappeared overnight, which was fantastic. I had a bunch, you had a bunch, our account had a bunch. We saw these numbers, like hundreds of quote unquote followers, which were just bots get blitzed out. And why can they do that? Well, they can do that because it costs nothing to spin up an automated routine that will just fucking create another identity and start following people, right? Or ripping off people's content or duplicating someone's timeline. It doesn't cost anything once you've got the tech built. But if you have to like create an account and then let's say you wanted to post in a certain way, and if you were a bad actor, it costs you money. So let's say, for example, you had to post something like $20 on, on your on each account that you had, just to make sure that that was for safe passage through the internet. Like, and every time you did something wrong and someone reported you, it cost you a few pennies, right? Just over and over and over again. Well, eventually you run out of money to do stupid shit. And this is the problem. This is what a lot of people don't realize. It's kind of like network marketing, right? Like, network marketers want to sell you a business opportunity. And the problem with that is they want to sell it to everyone. And the problem with that is the barrier to entry is low. And the problem with that is it brings in everyone. So the problem with that is you end up with a lot of people who aren't very professional, right? So same thing here, same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more expensive and it's slower, therefore it has less trash and spam. Anything that's less expensive and faster is going to have more trash and spam. And so the trick is, where's the balance? So, at the end of the day, that's really all that you really have to consider when you're thinking about, what direction a particular, individual or group is going to go. And if I can throw up, 15 different meme coins and ask for donations or ask for pre-sales and basically take advantage of people and not really care about them, and it doesn't cost me anything, and I'm anonymous, and I'm cross-border, and no one can find me, then the incentive there is not a good one, right? And so part of what we have to realize as we grow is we have to change those incentives. And this is the thing that, right now in the Wild West of crypto or Web3, it's still developing. That's why I keep saying, we're super early in the S curve.
But what exactly was Elon's plan with X? I think I read a little bit about it. Like he wants to charge new users for their first couple of tweets. I feel like that might prevent real users as well from using X. But what exactly was the plan?
I didn't read through the whole thing, but I mean, I think, it's just like when we brought ordinals to Goodfellas, right? Like it's a gated opportunity, and the reason it's gated is because we want a certain type of person. So what Elon is saying basically is, it's going to cost you something to participate, some nominal small little fee to participate, and if you're not willing to put that forth, then you can't participate, which I think is fantastic. And you see other platforms doing the same thing. Twitter released the blue check mark thing, which I haven't really bought into. Again, I didn't even get on X until like a year ago. But on Facebook, where I built my business, like Facebook's doing the same thing. They're selling the blue checks. And so ultimately, these platforms, in order to survive and make money, they're not going to be able to just do it on ad revenue, because every time you turn around, there's a new social platform, and this platform's going to eat that platform. And this generation uses X, and this generation uses TikTok, and this generation uses Instagram, and it's just like different cohorts use different things based on the time frame that they were born in and the time frame that they come of age in. And so, in order to survive, these platforms are going to have to raise money from other means. And in order to have users, they're going to have a better user experience. Twitter is one of the worst in terms of spam and junk and garbage that I've ever seen. I've never seen a platform as mature as Twitter that has as much garbage on it. It's not the same way on like Facebook or Instagram. And I'm not saying Meta's any better. I'm just saying that it's not the same. And there's a reason for that. I'm not sure if it's the signups or the process or what you have to go through. But, X is just notoriously horrible for having these terrible bot situations. So, if they have to charge a few bucks to get a new account set up, and you're a user, like a real user who wants a real account and wants to build relationships and a following, then you're going to pay it. You're not going to care. But if you're trying to spin up a bunch of bots, it's going to change things, because now all of a sudden you're going to be out some funds once you're identified as being a bot, and now your account's gone, and so is your cash.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm very curious to see what actually like turns out to be the solution here. But let's jump into our project. We had a great last mint from Maria. I saw that tweet that STC did. That was great. I love the sentence. I think she wrote, she or he, I don't even know. Bosses know the true value of art, and that is basically the point. We've always mentioned that we are an art first project, and yeah, this tweet was great. I loved it. And I love the mint, although I was a little late, but I minted like 2 or 3 pieces. And I'm really glad that the community loved that piece as well. So thank you everyone for that. It was great. Did you get a piece, Jason?
Yeah, I was there. I got a piece, and I've got a. Well, I think I have one piece. I minted a couple extras because I knew there were some people who were straggling. I sent one off to Chaz, who was going to be late, and someone else was going to be late. So yeah, no multiples for me, but I did get one.
That's great, man. If anyone still needs a piece, I still got a piece or two. Probably Charlie's going to show up in a day or two, and he's going to be like, "Hey, I missed it again." um, but let's see about that. You just sent me a piece privately. I loved it. Do you want to talk about that, or is it secret still?
Yeah, should we talk about that?
It was
All
great, man.
right.
I
Yeah,
really loved it. I really, really loved it. I wasn't able to write you, but it's great, man.
yeah, super cool, man. Yeah, so I was, I probably sound tired because I'm a little wired. I was up until about 4 a.m. this morning working on a piece. I was like, well, we can't let the having go by without doing something special, right? So I was up and I was coming up with ideas, trying to work through some different pieces of artwork to put something together for us. And I basically came up with another 21's piece that is in celebration of the Bitcoin halving. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the link for it this afternoon as we get close to the halving, just in celebration of the halving. And for those of you guys who are, holders and, holding great pieces, it's going to be like a super awesome, just fun little mint. Basically another reward, kind of a bonus situation for you guys. And I hope you guys love it. It's super colorful. It's super, just a lot. It's a fun piece, I think. And I think everybody's going to dig it, especially after coming off the other piece. And yeah, so I wish I could say more, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. But if you think in terms of Bitcoin halving and in terms of our art, you could probably imagine a few scenarios that will come to mind, I'm sure. But yeah, that's going to happen this afternoon. So for those of you guys who are on the call, just keep an eyeball peeled. I'll drop the link in the bosses channel at the bosses table first, and then one later on if there's any left over. But obviously, bosses eat first. That's our mantra. That's the way it goes. So if you're holding a boss and you got your boss coin, be ready to rock. You'll be good to go, and you'll have first dibs.
Yeah, just a little spoiler from me. Like it's a very very great piece that you created. So it looks like you do that like in the last couple of hours. Or you haven't told me before, but it's like so good.
Yeah, dude, I was working. I was working on my Jeep yesterday, and I had it ripped apart in the garage. And the whole time I was working on the Jeep, I was like, well, shit, man, it's having like this happens once every 4 years. I mean, we can't let it go by and not do something for the community, right? And so the whole time I'm working on the Jeep, I'm thinking about this piece and thinking and thinking and thinking, like, what could I do? What could I come up with? What would be something that would be super cool? And then, I just had an idea. And as soon as I got to a stopping point, I ate some dinner at around 8 or 8:30, and I sat down at the computer and for the next 7 hours just worked out the piece. And so I finished at about 4 a.m. this morning.
Okay, perfect, man. Yeah, regarding the artist incubator, Maria's stuff is done for now. It was very, very great first artist to have. And we got the next artist lined up already. We haven't spoken about a time frame, as we will have another batchment first and another 21 piece first. But then we will start introducing the new artists, and yeah, we got 4 pieces lined up. These are very different to what Maria did, but it's actually pretty funny because Maria knows who the new artist is. She actually asked, and she loved her as well. And yeah, really looking forward to that. But let's come to the point that I've been very interested about. You've had a tokenization meeting with a big company. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we acquired the Soul Rockers art a few months ago, and the gentleman who created the artwork is the drummer for Everclear, the band Everclear. And before he was with Everclear, he was with American Hi-Fi. And obviously American Hi-Fi had a lot of great songs back in the day, and of course everybody knows Everclear from back in the day. And so he sort of came of age at this time where, like rock music was huge, and the collection reflects that interest. And so when we were able to acquire the collection from him, his initial vision was to create like a play to earn rhythm game, sort of like Guitar Hero, kind of where you play along with the track. But decided to abandon that ultimately for a lot of reasons. And when we picked up the artwork, I was like, well, what would be the best use case for this? Because again, we're talking about, highest and best. We're talking about tracking, provenance, tokenization. And I reached out to one of my contacts from back in the day. It was actually one of my very first web contacts years ago, and just asked if we could sit down and have a chat about what it would look like to tokenize their music. Now, they have music. They have a catalog that's, I think, over 10 or 15,000 tracks now. They have placements in all kinds of different, forms of media, whether it's film, television, radio. Most recently, for those of you guys who are fans of Fallout, if you've seen the Fallout show on, I think it's on Amazon, I'm sure it's on other streaming platforms as well. They have placements in Fallout, so like they do quite well in terms of getting their music out there. And so the whole idea was, hey, can we tie your music to these NFTs and then turn them not just into visual art, but also audio? Basically have an audio track tied to the NFT, and the NFT would ultimately tokenize the music. And so after they got over the initial shock of trying to understand how this market worked and why there were so many failures, I could see the wheels turning in their head. Like they were very, very interested in doing this. And the first question they asked was, well, can we see your licensing agreement? Okay, so this is again coming back to ownership and why you want to make sure that you only own shit that you can own. Because when you start dealing with real people, they have to be able to trust that you're going to come through, right? And so the first question was, what does your licensing agreement look like? What kind of licensing do you want from us? Is it exclusive? Is it non-exclusive? We started getting into this conversation. And the way that their world works is once they have a piece of content created, right, they can license it to Fallout, for example, but they could also turn around and license it to another show or another, radio platform or whatever. And they can continue to earn, sales or licensing on that piece of content that they have. And so my explanation to them was that the NFT market for them could be the same, that basically if we turned their pieces into music-based NFTs, that every time one of those NFTs changed hands, that they could, pick up a few pennies here and there on that transaction or on the mint or whatever the case may be. And of course, because they already own this content and it's already copyrighted to them, all they would really need to do is license it to us for use in this way. And then, of course, we would code them into the contract such that anytime a piece changed hands, they picked up a few pennies, right? Which is basically the way the royalties market worked. And of course, because this would require no effort on their part, like this is extremely win-win, they were very open to the idea. And so we're at the stage right now where they've asked for copies of our licensing agreement and finding out what that looks like so that they can see, if there's any holes in it or if it would be something that benefits them. And then after we have that conversation, we'll talk about whether or not they want to proceed. And basically, their concern was, do we expect them to exclusively license their music to us? Because that would, of course, cut out any opportunity for them to make revenue on their music and other avenues. And of course, I said, no, we just want a non-exclusive license. So basically, I just made it as easy as humanly possible for them to understand what a win-win relationship would look like in the real world if we were able to tokenize their music. So I don't know if they will ultimately, come on board with us. I have no knowledge of, how this is going to shake out. but they were very positive on the idea. And what that tells me is that other companies, whether they come in or not, whether these guys choose to work with us or not, there are going to be many, many other companies in the same vein of work that they do that would be potential prospects to have that conversation with and ultimately pick up some music. So that said, I think from a tokenization standpoint, this was sort of the first bite at the apple to see how the traditional market would respond. And all indications are positive. Again, not guaranteeing that there's going to be any deal coming through, but at least we started the conversation. And who knows, months from now, we might be working for them or working with them, or months from now, we might be working with another company doing something similar. But because their attitude toward the idea was so positive, I know that this is something that we can ultimately pull off, especially with the Soul Rockers collection, which opens up obviously a lot of doors because that artwork, that art style, I would love to see like soul rappers. I'd love to see like artwork in the country style, like a dance style. And if we can employ that same artist to do that same type of artwork in different genres, then that would be really cool because then we could actually assign like pieces to like sounds, which would, obviously increase the value of the collection. And of course, if you're holding those pieces, there's some interesting things there, right? So there might be the opportunity for you to participate in the business side of that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We haven't told or released any of this into the Soul Rockers Discord. I haven't even made an announcement there yet. But, basically the people in that Discord think that project is toast. And so they've basically floored all their pieces. So if you want to pick up some pieces for nothing, now would be the time to do that. But basically, in a nutshell, the meeting went well. They were positive. They're interested. We've got to talk about licensing. Lawyers are going to get involved, and we'll see where it goes from there. But if it doesn't happen with them, it'll definitely happen with someone else. I'm quite confident of that happening. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Sounds great, man. I mean, I totally agree that it's like at the moment it's a lot about like spreading awareness about the value of tokenization. And I feel like in the future people will definitely realize, especially with the gain of interest in crypto with the bull market ahead. But what most people don't know, we actually do have a whole other collection licensed. I think you just wrote me that you got the art now, if I'm right.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who visited the website, you'll see that we've got a few collections listed and kind of what they are. We have our primary collection, which is the Goodfellas. We've got our secondary collections, which are the 21s and the Artist Incubator, where we're bringing in outside artists. But the other thing that we're wanting to do is acquire as much artwork as we can from as many places. So Soul Rockers is one of those collections. The Goodfellas Ladies is another collection of 10,000 pieces. And then we also have another one that is like an ape themed collection, but it's unlike some of the ape stuff that you've seen. It's a little higher quality artwork, I would say, a little more detailed artwork. And I just got the artwork for that as well. So we've got at this point in-house the ability to create something like 40 to 50,000 different NFTs, or more, depending on how many different ways we spin it. And of course, all these assets that we're acquiring are designed to build this licensing arm of the business to such a way that we can ultimately involve bosses in not only earning AU and picking up NFTs, but in other ways as well. So basically the plan is to acquire as much artwork as possible, as much high quality artwork as possible, and then guarantee that it has a place to live forever. Right. So no one listening to this call is ever going to have to wonder if Goodfellas is going away. It's not. It doesn't matter what happens. We're going to be here. We're going to fight all the battles. We're going to deal with all the bullshit. We're not going anywhere. And if we can do that and give that same guarantee to other people and other collections, you don't have to pop into Discord every day to see if, you got rugged. That's basically one of the fears that we want to quell in the marketplace. And so we're looking for quality holders at the same time that we're looking for quality artwork, and we want to marry those two things together and then reward people for doing good things and supporting art. and supporting artists like Maria and supporting artists like this new artist that we're bringing on board. So that's kind of it at the highest level. And I'll keep the website updated as we release this stuff. But the next steps are basically just to make some announcements inside the Soul Rockers Discord. I've invited those guys to come check out the spaces, so some of them are aware. But we'll start onboarding some of those people. And of course, all the bosses who are here and how to understand how this project works. Like, I'm going to need your help, answering questions and sort of explaining how things work and what we're about, but also sifting and sorting, like inside our server, if you're a boss, one of the privileges that we grant you is the ability to include or exclude certain people, right? So if we bring someone in who isn't necessarily on board with what we're doing, or who's creating negativity, or not really, being supportive, then, you have veto rights. We can get rid of some of these people and make sure that we keep the population in alignment with the vision and the values that we want to create here. I don't want to see anyone abused. I don't want to see anyone, sort of, dealing with negativity. That's not really what we're about. That stuff's going to come and we're going to deal with it. But inside our project, the idea for bosses is to make sure that you guys have power, not only to collect, but also to call, and to make sure that the culture that we're creating is one of abundance, positivity, and creating good things in the world. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, regarding the licensing, with all these projects basically going to zero, probably like 95%, it's actually a land of milk and honey for us. It's all just like a little difficult to reach the artists after that, because most of the times you don't even know who the artist is. But I have the impression that the focus is like kind of shifting, and artists get a lot more spotlight recently, and that's why I feel will definitely be good in the future. Yeah. Do we have anything else? Bitcoin halving 46 blocks away. Do we have any other topics for today?
I don't think so. I just want to open the floor. If anyone has any questions or comments, anyone just wants to say hello, always feel free to throw up a hand and, introduce yourself, speak your mind, whatever the case may be. So if we don't have any questions or comments or concerns, then we can certainly get on with it.
Then you can tell us what you do with all your gold.
I don't have that much. I have like 7 ounces of gold, so I'm not sitting on that much. But I have a lot of silver, though.
Yeah, you do actually. So you have like a treasure at home?
Yeah, I just keep it kind of buried in the yard, kind of a thing. It's kind of like sort of emergency break glass, right?
Yeah, that's great, man. So perfect. If nobody has any questions, I think we are good for today. Keep an eye on the Discord. We'll drop a link for the bonus special piece that Jason created during the night, and looking forward to that. And yeah, looking forward to see you guys next week on the next space, and we will have the halving done.
Absolutely. Have a good day, and we'll talk
Yeah,
soon,
man.
guys.
Bye bye.